You wake up in a house on a street where nobody knows your net worth, in a town small enough that the local paper still runs a notable neighbors column and never once has your name in it. You are the richest person in your city. Not the mayor, not the guy with the truck dealership on Route 9 whose name is on 4 billboards. You. And almost nobody alive knows it. It's 7:15 in the morning. You're at the same diner you've been going to for 11 years, in a mid-size American city, the kind with one real downtown block, a minor league baseball team, and a main street that's half boarded up and half surviving on nostalgia. The waitress calls you by your first name. She has no idea that the number sitting in your brokerage account has 9 figures in it. She refills your coffee and asks about your knee. You ask about her daughter's soccer season. This is the entire interaction. This has been the entire interaction for over a decade. Here's the part nobody tells you about being the richest person in a place like this. It isn't loud. It was never going to be loud. The truck dealership guy. The one on the billboards. He's worth maybe $4 million. Most of it tied up in inventory and a building he still owes the bank on. You are worth roughly 400 times that. And he is, by every visible measure, the richest man in town. He has the biggest house on the biggest hill. You have a 4-bedroom colonial 2 blocks from the elementary school, paid off in 2019, with a Honda in the driveway and a Ford before that. Nobody has ever driven past your house and thought money. That was never an accident. That was the entire strategy. Now hold that thought, because this is a story about what actually happens to a dollar when nobody's watching it, and about the specific, quiet, almost boring mechanism that turns an ordinary income into a fortune nobody in your zip code can see. You are 27. You've just gotten your first real job, decent but unremarkable, $48,000 a year at a regional insurance company, 2 exits off the interstate. Your co-workers lease new cars the week they get promoted. One of them, a guy named Danny, buys a boat that year. Not because he can afford it, because he can afford the monthly payment on it, which is a very different sentence. You do the least exciting thing available to you. You open a 401k. You set it to 6%, just enough to get the full company match. Because leaving that match on the table is the closest thing to free money the IRS lets your employer hand you. Then you open a Roth IRA on your lunch break and put in $50, because $50 was what fit that month. Nobody at that insurance office knows you did this. There is no announcement for opening a retirement account. There is no envy to manage, because there is nothing to see. You are 30. Danny's boat is for sale, quietly, on a local classifieds page because boats are a hole in the water you pour money into, and the insurance job doesn't pay for both a boat and a transmission repair. Your Roth IRA has $9,000 in it. Your 401k has closer to 22, most of it from the match and the market, not from you. You still drive the same car. You still live in a rental 2 streets over from where you grew up. If you made a list right now of every person in this city with more money in the bank than you, that list would be enormous. It would include half the diner regulars. It would include your landlord. That is exactly how it's supposed to feel, because the entire game is invisible until it isn't. You are 35. You buy the Colonial, not the biggest house you could technically qualify for. The mortgage broker actually seemed disappointed in you for that. But a solid, ordinary house at a price that lets you keep funneling money into the market instead of into a kitchen renovation you don't need. Your property tax bill from the county assessor lists your home's value at $290,000, which places you firmly, boringly, in the middle of your street. Meanwhile, the number nobody sees, spread across the 401k, the Roth, and a plain taxable brokerage account you started because you'd maxed the other 2, has crossed $190,000. You've contributed less than half of that yourself. The rest just arrived, the way water fills a lowland, without asking your permission and without printing your name in any paper. You are 40. This is the year it stops being subtle even to you. The market has a strong run, and your accounts grow by more in 12 months than your entire annual salary. You do not buy anything to mark the occasion. You do not tell your parents. You quietly bump your 401k contribution up to 11% and forget about it again. Danny, the boat guy, is now selling siding to make his truck payment. He's not a bad guy. He just spent 35 years mistaking the appearance of money for the presence of it, and appearance is expensive in a way that presence never has to be. You are 45, your kid needs braces, and you pay it in full from checking without moving a single dollar out of the market, without a second thought, without it registering as an event. This is what people who talk about being rich never quite manage to explain. The actual feeling of it isn't champagne, it's the complete absence of financial emergencies. It's a flat line where other people have a heart monitor. Your account, across every bucket, sits north of $600,000. In your city, that number alone would place you comfortably ahead of 90% of the people you pass at the grocery store. And you are nowhere near finished. You are 50. You go to your 25th high school reunion, held in the banquet room of the same country club the truck dealership guy joined the year his billboards went up. He's there, tan, loud, generous with the bar tab, telling a long story about a boat he almost bought. Somebody asks what you've been up to. Insurance, you say, still at the same place. A couple of people nod politely and drift toward the bar. Nobody asks a follow-up question because there's nothing about you that invites one. You go home that night to the same colonial, and somewhere in that house, in an account nobody in that banquet room could name the value of, sits more money than the entire room combined. You know this because you actually did the math once, out of curiosity, and then never mentioned it to a single person. You are 55. The regional insurance company gets bought out. Half the office is let go in a single afternoon, including people with twice the tenure and half the salary flexibility you have. You are not let go, but if you had been, it would have been a Tuesday, not a catastrophe. You have, by this point, enough sitting quietly in low-cost index funds to replace your entire salary for the rest of your natural life and never touch the principal. Nobody at that company knows this about the guy who still brings the same turkey sandwich to lunch. That was always the point. You are 60. You do the math for real this time, the kind of math where you print it out. Total contributions across every account, every year, every paycheck since you were 27, just under $300,000. Total balance today, just past $4 million. The other $3.7 million was never yours to earn in the traditional sense. It was time's contribution, and you simply gave it 33 years and got out of its way. In a city of roughly 90,000 people, that number, quietly, without a single billboard or a boat or a country club membership to announce it, makes you the richest person within the city limits. Richer than the truck dealership, richer than the hospital administrator with the lake house, richer, almost certainly, than the mayor. Nobody will ever write this in the local paper because there is nothing to photograph. There's no ribbon cutting for a Roth IRA. There's no ceremony for 33 years of not buying the boat. The whole story lives in a PDF statement you get once a quarter and mostly don't open. Here's what almost nobody in your city understands, including some of the people who genuinely believe they're wealthy. Money that gets spent announces itself immediately and then disappears. Money that gets invested announces itself never and then compounds forever. You can only ever have one of those two experiences with a given dollar. Danny got 40 years of a visible life. You got 40 years of an invisible one. Only one of you can actually stop working whenever you want to. Somewhere in your city right now, someone just got their paycheck and is deciding, without thinking of it as a decision, whether this month's extra $200 becomes a car upgrade or an automatic transfer into an index fund nobody will ever ask them about. They are not doing anything wrong either way. That's the trap and the door, standing in the exact same spot. Nobody drives past a brokerage account and feels envy. That was never a flaw in the system. For the people willing to stay boring for 30 years, that was always the entire system. You finish your coffee. The waitress refills it without being asked. Outside, the truck dealership billboard catches the morning light 2 blocks down, 40 feet of a rich man's face grinning over the highway. You leave your usual tip, walk out to the Honda, and drive to a job nobody would ever guess belongs to the richest person in the city. Nobody watches you leave. That was always the most valuable thing about you.